Touch on before I turn to the Ocean Beach project, and I don't have a pretty picture for this partially because it doesn't really lend itself to pretty pictures. Cities and regions are reinventing governance. There's a very funny statement I've heard about the federal government that I hope won't offend those of you that are in the federal government, because I think we're all of a mind that you all are the best idea, America's best idea. I certainly agree with that sentiment. But the federal government, someone amusingly said, is an insurance company with an army. And increasingly that's the case. We feel extreme resource constraint on a wide variety of basic bread and butter issues and functions of government. There's less and less money coming from Washington to the local level. There's obviously extreme political and policy sclerosis at the federal level in spite of the best efforts of this administration. The local and regional levels are left to take up the slack. And it is at those levels of government that innovation is taking place. And sometimes it's under the gun. I think we all wish that we were simply properly resourced to deal with basic public functions. But in the absence of that, there is a lot of amazing innovation that's happening around governance, and then especially so with respect to climate change and climate adaptation. So I would flag in particular the Presidio Trust, the Golden Gate Parks Conservancy, and a variety of other sort of institutional inventions that were born of resource constraint, but that have actually proved to be incredible models for bringing the best from different sectors to deliver the kinds of public goods that we care about. I think that the collaboration in the Ocean Beach Master Plan really reflects some of that, the challenge of working in this multi-jurisdictional environment and the need to sort of figure out what we're going to do, because the cavalry is not going to come riding over the hill to save us. I think increasingly we're seeing the local level and cities in particular sort of be where the action is on policy, on governance, et cetera. I want to flag one kind of sort of process wonky thing. If you think about climate adaptation, which basically is a way of saying we're going to watch what happens, plan in advance for the most likely outcome, and then adapt incrementally as the environment changes and be prepared to do that. That's very much at odds with our traditional government structures of how we do things under NEPA, under CEQA, capital planning, a wide variety of institutions and structures. California Coastal Commission is another example. Most of those things are geared towards doing a project. And doing a project is exactly the opposite of climate adaptation. And so when you all go back to your home jobs and places with respect to the big bureaucratic structure of how things get done in the world, mull that over and think about where in your work the way of thinking that is about delivering one big shiny object ends up being at odds with the kind of new reality that we're living in, which is that there is no stable ground underneath us. And the art of planning is really about understanding likely scenarios and being vigilant and adaptive over time. And there are just a lot of places where that touches the way that we work. Okay, so that's enough gross generalizations. I'm going to turn now to talk quickly about the Ocean Beach Master Plan. There's a lot here, so hopefully it won't put you to sleep and I won't go too long. But it is an example of a lot of the different kinds of issues that I've just been talking about. So Ocean Beach is a 3.5-mile stretch of San Francisco's Pacific coast. Largely a sandy beach, although less and less, especially at the south end, especially in El Nino years. And it is touched by a tremendous array of jurisdictions. I'm sure this is true across the board in many of your professional lives, but it's especially concentrated in an urban setting where there's so many different functions. So obviously the beach itself is part of PG&RA, but immediately adjacent is city property. The California Coastal Commission has regulatory purview. The Public Utilities Commission operates a major complex of wastewater and stormwater infrastructure that protects coastal water quality. A number of city parks and park resources are adjacent. The Army Corps dredges 300,000 cubic yards of sand from the ebb tide shoal to allow ships to get in and out of the Golden Gate. That has a big impact on the shape of the beach and also opportunities to manage it. Public Works is charged with protecting infrastructure. The city planning is setting policy. MTA runs the transportation system, on and on and on. I could probably come up with twice this many agencies that have some stake. So you're familiar with Ocean Beach. I don't have to tell you where it is, but some of the details that you might imagine, I just turned the orientation, so north is to your right. But you can see Fort Funston on the left, Cliff House and Land's End on the right, Ocean Beach down the middle, the Great Highway running immediately behind Ocean Beach, as well as Golden Gate Park. And then if you turn your attention to the left side here, this is really where the critical erosion area is. Pump station at the foot of Sloat Boulevard adjacent to the zoo, and the Oceanside treatment plant that has succeeded in reducing the number of ocean discharges into the Pacific Ocean by 90%. You used to get sewage in the water basically every time it rained in San Francisco. So this is a huge success story. However, components of this infrastructure are chronically exposed to coastal hazards. So when that system was completed in 1993, it looked something like this. Attractive, restored, albeit non-native landscape. The same location in 2010. The same location in 2012. So again, this is not a someday problem, this is a right now problem. And this would probably be an erosive condition without sea level rise, but you can bet it's going to get a lot worse as sea level rise sets in. This is before the last El Nino, 2010, right in front of the Oceanside treatment plant. And this is the city's emergency response, the placement of riprap revetments, boulder revetments, emergency coastal armoring, in the absence of a plan with what to do and rapidly advancing erosion threatening critical infrastructure. And it's not just the treatment plant that you see the gate of there, it's also a number of underground storage and transport structures. In fact, the most threatened infrastructure is that blue line, the Lake Merced Tunnel, which is a 14-foot diameter wastewater, stormwater storage and transport pipe, massively overbuilt to fill with stormwater in wet weather conditions and prevent that kind of discharge, but also imminently threatened by coastal erosion. So what do? Well, we came into this project and we came in under a grant from the State Coastal Conservancy. It was basically, which side are you on? Are you for coastal armoring or are you for managed retreat? And that doesn't really work. We're too constrained, we have too many different functions. So what we did is we convened a 2.5-year public planning process and tried to get everybody to sort of understand one another's constraints. And I like to think of this as bringing the tools of city planning and design to an arena that had been the province of engineers, regulators, advocates, and scientists, all of whom do spectacular work, but none of whom has as a core function convening a conversation around difficult and controversial issues. I'm wondering if I can petition for 5 extra minutes because I want to show you these nifty videos that I hope will work if the gremlins don't kill us here. And I show you these videos for 2 reasons. One is to give you a very compressed background on some of the challenges that we actually faced in this location. But the other is to talk about communication and how we try to take a wide variety of very technical material and make it available and legible to a lay audience.